Florida is known for its tourist attractions. We have everything from the expansive parks that reside in Orlando to museums of any focus and massive casinos that tower far above the surrounding landscape. But long before these staples of the Florida economy came into existence, there was a first tourist attraction. So what was it? It all started nearly 2 centuries ago in the early 1800s. At this time, most of Florida was an inaccessible labyrinth of swamps, vegetation, snakes, and of course, alligators. So travel was greatly limited to what was available in the northern portion of the state. This didn't stop adventurous locals from navigating the narrow streams and swamplands in search of anything interesting the land had to offer. But what they would find among the cypress trees and Spanish moss was entirely unexpected. An oasis buried in the overgrowth. This massive network of crystal clear waters teeming with aquatic life was the humble beginnings of Silver Springs Park.
When you're down in Florida looking for fun, come to Silver Springs. You'll like it, son. It's a natural thrill.
Officially opening in 1852, the crystal clear waters became a renowned tourist destination nearly a decade before the Civil War. Though its most famous offering would arrive after the war with the introduction of glass-bottom boat tours to the park in the late 1870s. From these vessels, visitors could peer into the clear blue waters of the springs to see manatees, alligators, schools of fish, and other wildlife completely in their natural environment. These tours were immensely popular for Florida's early visitors, with national travel journals and guidebooks describing it as a mandatory stop on one's tour of the state. By the end of the 19th century, Silver Springs was entering a time of change and expansion. The park was purchased by H.L. Anderson in 1898, who then sold to Ed Carmichael in 1909. Carmichael would make various improvements to the park and glass-bottom boats after taking ownership. In 1916, the movie The Seven Swans was shot on location in the park. This made studios realize Silver Springs' potential as a prime location for film sets, as many more would be shot there throughout the years, including Tarzan the Ape Man and Creature from the Black Lagoon. In 1924, 2 locals leased the land around the springs from Carmichael to once again improve offerings and develop the headwaters of the river into Silver Springs Nature Theme Park. Just a year later, the Ross Allen Reptile Institute opened in the same area.
Ross Allen, the famous star of countless wildlife adventure movies, is going to show us on Guided Tour today how he keeps the Ross Allen Reptile Institute down at Florida's Silver Springs with wild animals and reptiles.
These developments greatly expanded the park's offerings, with both native animal exhibits and small amusement rides being added. During this time, a troop of wild rhesus monkeys was introduced to an island in the spring with the intention of it increasing interest in the Jungle Cruise ride. But somebody didn't do their research to learn that the little primate is an excellent swimmer, as they quickly escaped the island to establish colonies around the river that are still there to this day. The park's popularity only continued to skyrocket with these new amenities. By the 50s, over 800,000 guests would visit the springs annually. Though this decade wasn't perfect for the park, as a fire would engulf the attraction, destroying the ticket office, gift shop, and cafe among other structures in 1955. But the park's momentum couldn't be slowed as the buildings were quickly rebuilt and improved. In 1962, things would quickly change for the now century-old tourist attraction as rumors began circulating that the property was being sold. And the company attempting to purchase Silver Springs Park might surprise you. On October 31st, 1962, the sale to the American Broadcasting Company would be finalized. ABC would take control of the entire property. And just like the new owners prior, they would immediately make many changes and upgrades to the park.
Here at Silver Springs, Florida, is the most unusual bathing beach in the world.
In 1971, Silver Springs was declared a National Natural Landmark, which is different from a national park as the land is still privately owned and the environment doesn't have any legal protections or requirements outside of an agreement with the owner to preserve the landmark to the best of their ability. Participation in the program is also entirely voluntary and can be ended at any time. So this designation is cool, but it's more of like a ceremonial title than anything. Throughout the 70s, the park was again expanded and improved. During this time, a 5-acre island attraction, beer pavilion, and new facility for the Reptile Institute would open. This wasn't all though, as ABC would open the water park Wild Waters on the property on April 29, 1978. The attraction would feature a wave pool, slides, shaded picnic area, and restaurant on opening day. But ABC would soon grow tired of the theme park business as fewer and fewer films were being shot at Silver Springs, causing ownership to once again change as Florida Leisure Attractions took over in 1984. But their ownership was short-lived as the land the Springs occupied would be sold to the state of Florida in 1993 and the attractions to Ogden Entertainment of Florida in 96. And the new owners wasted no time and almost immediately started a multi-million-dollar expansion that would be the largest in Silver Springs history. Many new entertainment options like World of Bears, Big Gator Lagoon, and Kids Ahoy were added between 1996 and 99. Almost immediately after that project was completed, Ogden Entertainment would sell the attractions to Smart Parks Incorporated in 2000, who would then fail to make their lease payment to the state in 2002, which caused the parks to be sold once again, this time to Palace Entertainment. A tourist attraction changing hands 3 times in 6 years is always a good sign, right? Palace would then make some changes to the parks and add a few new entertainment options. But everything would only get worse for the park, as fertilizer runoff and septic outflow would stream into the springs from nearby farms and development, causing massive brown algae mats to cover the once crystal clear water and damaging the local ecosystem. If you've seen my last video, you might remember this. And today that spring is where Zephyr Hills takes their water from to bottle and sell back to you. Not sure how I feel about that, but at least Silver Springs is a state park now, so that's cool. That caused a dramatic decrease in water volume from the springs, which only worsened the decline of the area's natural environment. These problems would cause a 90% decrease in the fish population compared to 1950s levels. Which, as it turns out, the natural beauty of Silver Springs was a huge reason people would visit the famous tourist attraction. Over the 10 years since Palace took ownership of the parks, profit margins would plummet from 23.5% to 5.3%, causing them to appeal to the state to terminate their lease 16 years early. Florida would then take ownership of the parks in 2013, and they wasted no time instituting drastic changes to the operations of the springs that many did not approve of. In a controversial move, the state would close Silver Springs as an amusement park after 135 years. During this time, the zoo, animal shows, safari ride, carousel, and various other attractions would close to turn the location into a more traditional state park. To many, Silver Springs Park was now a shell of what it once was. Florida would then close Wild Waters a few years later on September 5, 2016, citing the same reasoning. The famed water park would sit abandoned for a few years, slowly being reclaimed by the environment before demolition would begin in December of 2018. Officially changing Florida's oldest tourist attraction into something unrecognizable to many.
It's the first and one of the oldest water parks in the state of Florida. It was officially decided today, though, that Wild Waters in Ocala will close down. TV 2's Stephanie Bachara reports some residents feel like they aren't being heard on the issue.
Today, the Silver Springs property has almost completely returned to its roots, focusing on the natural environment with offerings such as hiking, paddleboarding, camping, and wildlife watching. After nearly 150 years of operation, their most famous attraction continues to this day, the Glass Bottom Boat Tours. Though not the originals, the 9 historically designed vessels continue to sail passengers through the springs with stunning views of what resides under the surface. Since shifting their focus away from drawing in tourists and towards preserving natural resources, very little development is on the horizon for Florida's first tourist attraction. And I genuinely love the direction the park is heading in. Once it became clear that Silver Springs was declining as a tourist destination with ever-increasing competition from Orlando, it made perfect sense for the state to pivot into trying to preserve the natural wonders that first brought people to the park over a century ago. Do you miss the old Silver Springs and Wild Waters parks, or are you happy with the direction the property's heading in now? Let me know down below, and if you enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate you watching. Thank you.